So yesterday, a new meme was born, guys. And this meme is called #TrollingTheGuardian. Now, why is it trolling the Guardian? And how is it trolling the Guardian? Well, it's just satire. That's literally what it is. And basically, what I and many others have done is basically we found this meme generator which basically allows you to create your own Guardian headlines. Now, I think there are other ways of doing it. You can Photoshop your own if you want to, but there's a meme generator that I will link in the description where you can basically make your own headline with a variety of writers. Now, hopefully, they will increase the number of said writers so that we can, obviously have even more options to satirize. But basically, all we're doing is highlighting the hypocrisy, the absurdity, the hilarity of these Guardian writers. And some of them, funnily enough, aren't even technically left-wing, like Rory Stewart is a conservative, allegedly, yet he is also listed as one of the Guardian writers. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you some examples from Twitter, and then we're going to have a nice laugh, and I might even try to explain some of it to you anyway, even though explaining the joke is not something you should do, but hey, whatever, right guys? And this comes from The Horse from Horsing Around. Got my hands on an early draft of Chuka's next article. #TrollingTheGuardian. Only insert current party can insert current cause. This is in reference to the fact that Chuka Umunna has basically had like 3 political parties in literally the span of a year. This is also a reference to the current political system that we have in the UK, where basically a MP can move from one party to the other, which is what they can do. If you change your opinion, you change your opinion, but they keep their seat and there's no by-election. And Chuka Umunna is a classic example of this. He started off in Labour. He was on the Blairite side of things. He is not a Corbynista, even though there's not really much difference between Blairites and Corbynites, except maybe on economic issues, maybe. And he went from Labour to the Independent Party, or the Cook Party, as it later on became. And then he abandoned that because that was dead in the water anyway. Very few people voted for them. And now he's a member of the Liberal Democrats, a party that he wrote about in The Guardian, I do believe, saying that you can never trust them. Ever, ever, ever. And they're a party that you should not vote for many different reasons. And yet now he's one of their MPs. Just shows, really, there's not much of a difference between all these politicians, and they don't actually hate each other, and it's just a class, really, isn't it? It's just a different uniform you wear to get votes. And this is from Petrus. We need to ban public schools. Just as soon as my son finishes at Dulwich College, Shami Chakrabarti. Now, this is a classic example of leftist hypocrisy, where they are rallying against public schools. Now, for those of you who don't know, public schools are not public. They're actually private. I don't know the origin of the term, but private schools can also be called public schools in the UK. They tend to be schools like Eton and Charterhouse and Dulwich College, for example. They're the old institutions where a lot of the elites are educated and they become historians or politicians or whatever you can imagine, right? And the left has rallied against them for many, many years while sending their kids to these schools because a lot of them come from these very similar backgrounds. And it's just highlighting that little issue there, that whereas they want all these things to be abolished, that anybody can go to any school they want free of charge and not have access to this privileged education, they send their kids to these schools. And Diane Abbott is another one, I believe, who's also done that. And this is by Dr. Redacted. Freedom of speech isn't freedom to criticise left-wing global media outlets, Owen Jones. And this is an example of how we all have free speech, but just don't criticise us because then we will censor you and get you banned. Classic. Although I don't know if Owen Jones has ever said anything like that. He probably has. But you could literally put anybody's face on there and it would work pretty much. And this is by Alex van Hoevelingen. We should talk about me more. Jess Phillips. I think most people here know that Jess Phillips is a narcissist. She's only really interested in herself. She's not really interested in her own constituents, as highlighted during the LGBT versus Muslim community situation in Birmingham, where there was trans propaganda, LGBT political propaganda that was being pumped into the schools there by activist headmasters. We all know that really she doesn't care about the people, she cares only about the agenda and the politics. And we have another boarding school joke. And this time it's by Louise about Lily Ellen. Thank God for boarding school. I only see my kids once a month. I guess this is also a reference to helicopter parenting, although I don't think that this is necessarily a left-wing issue. But I guess if you're middle class, hell, even upper class, and you have a kid or two kids, and you're sick and tired of them, even though you love them, send them to a boarding school, or get a nanny, I guess. I guess that's the joke. And it's by V, not the Romanian V, just V. I don't really know what's going on, but they let me crayon in the shadow cabinet meetings, Angela Rayner. I guess this is a reference to the fact that she really doesn't do anything. I don't even know what her role is, which I guess sums it up really. Even I don't know who Angela Rayner really is. It is A.C. Grayling, the philosopher, I believe. A meme is by Simon Evans. Why professors are the best people to decide what the working class are allowed to think. I mean, say no more, really. This is basically something that intellectuals have said for a very long time now. They go on about the freedom of the working class, these communist, far left ones, and about how they want to free these people, give them a better life, but they should do it how they want them to do it. They don't have the liberty to do what they want, because if they have the liberty to do what they want, they don't tend to vote for the far left, they vote for more conservative parties, or just for the wrong type of leftists. So they must conform to what these professors think these people ought to do. And this is by Ian Miles Chong. My arms are too short to change my adult diapers, and Margaret Thatcher is to blame. Ah, yes. Maybe a little bit too crass. It's not quite that bad. They've not quite gone that far into blaming Thatcher for everything. But basically, it's a meme at this point that's been going on for pretty much all my life. And anybody over the age of, say, I don't know, 39, anybody born in the 70s to the 90s to now, if you've been brought up in a left-wing household or just happen to know a lot of left-wing people, they blame literally every problem that has happened in Britain on Thatcher. Now, yeah, she has caused a lot of issues, especially up here in the north. You know, she wasn't this amazing prime minister that a lot of people on the right will have you believe, but she's not to blame for everything, and not everything that is a problem necessarily started with her. But I would argue she destroyed the right to bear arms in this country, which is possibly one of the biggest affronts to liberty ever. But she has this reputation amongst right-wingers and conservatives that she was a fighter for liberty and freedom, which she wasn't really. I don't think she was. But oh, look here. Jonathan Pye, I don't know if this is actually him or a meme account, and he says, as amusing as the trolling the Guardian hashtag is, isn't it rendered a tad redundant when these are all genuine Guardian headlines? And these are actually genuine Guardian headlines, guys. I don't think it's made redundant. I don't think so. I think really what Trolling the Guardian does is get into the nitty-gritty, the subtext behind these headlines, and you get to see what they really think. And also this one is by Pronoun Hustler. A Polish man saving us from the brown terrorist is the very essence of white saviour. David Lammy. Of course, this is reference to the fact that David Lammy and other people like him think that everything that white people do that's good or bad is just bad anyway because they do it. If a white man saves somebody, it's the white saviour complex. If you kill somebody, it's a problem with whiteness. And this is by Brad Nerlo. I also made a similar joke to this. I've never seen so many white people trolling the Guardian before. And this is a reference to a clip where he was busy doing the Channel News show. Yes, he's the news anchor on Channel 4, and he has a column in The Guardian. He's definitely not biased, is he, guys? And this was in response to a Brexit rally when the first delay happened. And he says, I've never seen so many white people here before, even though he literally lives and probably works in some of the most white areas you can possibly imagine. You can't get more white than the middle class area, but what do I know? Andrew Clark. As I've learned over the years, in both comedy and bomb planting, timing is everything. This is Jerry Adams, for those of you who are not British or Northern Irish. He was a member of the IRA. He's also one of the guys that Corbyn likes and invited into Parliament. In London, there are no such things as terrorist attacks, just happy accidents. Sadiq Khan. Need I say more? I mean, the joke pretty much explains itself. Charlotte Gill. This Christmas, remember that Jesus was a Remainer. Justin Welby. Justin Welby is currently the second in command of the Church of England, the Archbishop of Canterbury. The current head is, of course, the current monarch, Queen Elizabeth, and he's a leftist. He's a cook. Like the last one, funnily enough, but probably worse. And this is by Steve Hughes, and this is making me very depressed because this woman is my MP. White men spent Black Friday trying to buy narwhal tusks, and that's not okay. That's a reference to the recent terrorist attack where a Polish man, based narwhal man as I call him, attacked the terrorist that was stabbing people while he was also stabbed himself with a 5-foot narwhal tusk. I guess the joke is that these people are so ignorant that they don't realise that he just basically took it from a mantelpiece. It was probably bought years and years and years ago. And I guess it's also an environmentalist thing, even though narwhals aren't actually close to extinction or anything like that. If I said you had a beautiful body, would you let me nationalise it? John McDonnell. This is by Lee Burrows. This is a reference to John McDonnell, who I think is a psychopath, judging from his history. He's basically a communist. He's flaunted Mao's Red Book in Parliament, and his entire life, his entire platform is communist drivel. And I guess this is him attempting to woo a lady. If I said you had a beautiful body, would you let me nationalise it? So he could take ownership of you. Oh, such a misogynist, John. Also, interestingly, this guy is yet another privately educated Labour MP, just so you know, guys. His school photos were shared online. If your poop is brown, you are racist. Ash Sarkar. Just another play on the whole leftist, everything is racist. But it's literally grifter, Ash Sarkar. 100 million dead are a small price to pay for utopia, Owen Jones. This is in reference to the kill count, the current kill count, anyway, it's probably much more than that now, since Stalin and Mao, of socialism. This is the estimate, the conservative estimate, I think, the upper echelon of it, of the amount of people that died in socialist regimes all around the world in the 20th century. I don't know if it includes the 21st century, but it's basically the highest number that we can conservatively estimate is 100. The lowest is about, I think it's in the tens of millions. It's pretty bad. Joe Swinson ate my squirrel. Emily Thornberry. I don't know what reference that is. I guess they're trying to say that Joe Swinson's fat. I don't know. Harry, there is no problem with extremism in the UK. The problem we have is white people. Yasmin Alibi Brown. I'm not sure if that's real or not. Is that real? I have no recollection of ever meeting with Jeremy Corbyn. This is again another Jerry Adams thing where the left are denying that Corbyn ever had interactions with the IRA and Hamas and other extremists like them. In fact, we know that he did invite them to tea in the Houses of Parliament, and we know that he talked to actual communists from behind the Iron Curtain. Marxism lasts. How Labour can create more voters by ensuring they remain in comparative poverty to increase their dependency on the state. Ash Sarkar. How's that fully automated luxury communism going to work now, guys? Ah yes, Rory Stewart, as I said before, is one of them. Robert Peston sends me unwanted love letters. Is it wrong to deny him? Indeed, Rory, it is a question of the ages. Diane Abbott, as Orwell famously taught us, 2 + 2 = 5. And this is by Konstantin Kissin, the trigonometry co-host, the comedian. This is in reference to the fact that she's notoriously bad at maths. She's worse than I am at maths, because she's tried to come up with all these economic calculations to justify Labour's spending, and it never works. It's just funny. And there's another Diane Abbott meme. I always thought Super Diabetes was a Welsh flyweight boxer. Oh, yeah, the Welsh language is weird. George Monbiot, we must stop breathing out CO2 to save life on Earth. Green politics, guys. You get the reference. Opinion. Nuclear holocaust is the answer to the climate emergency. Burn it all down, Joe. Burn it all down. I've never forgiven my father for being a millionaire. Caroline Criado Perez. I have no idea who she is. But it's a feminists, leftists have daddy issues joke, and I'm okay with that. Now, I could go on, guys, and we do know that there's not much of a difference between the trolling the Guardian memes and actual Guardian headlines, but I hope you guys enjoyed it. I really enjoyed this. I've not yet seen the leftist response to this, but I imagine they won't be particularly pleased with this. But until next time, it's been your boy, and I'll see you later.